Hello everybody, David Shuster here. The United Kingdom, France, Germany, Norway, and Sweden have now deployed military troops to Greenland. This follows Donald Trump's threats to take the island by force. The European nations say the troop buildup is an effort to convince Trump that Western allies are not abandoning the Arctic, as Trump has claimed. Still, the enhanced military presence could complicate any U.S. mission to forcibly take over Greenland because direct conflict between U.S. and European troops would be unthinkable, right? Here's the official announcement from Denmark's defense minister.
The fact is that the security political tensions have spread to the Arctic. This means that we need an increased presence in and around Greenland. Therefore, in close dialogue with the Greenlandic government, we have also agreed to increase our military presence, as well as our exercise activity in the Arctic and the North Atlantic, in close cooperation with the NATO alliance. This means that from today and for the near future, there will be an increased military presence in and around Greenland.
The European military presence, officials say, will include soldiers, ships, and warplanes. And again, this includes military forces from Germany. That's right, the Germans are arriving in Greenland to fight fascism and imperialism. What a time to be alive. Senate Republican Mitch McConnell is still alive, and the tensions have even perked up him. McConnell took to the Senate floor to criticize Donald Trump and noted Greenland has been helping the United States since World War I.
I've yet to hear from this administration a single thing we need from Greenland that the sovereign people is not ready and willing to grant us.
On top of Greenland cooperating with the United States throughout McConnell's lifetime, in other words, a long time, the island is part of Denmark, which is in the NATO alliance. That means that even if Donald Trump somehow thinks Greenland is vulnerable to Russia or China, even Russia and China understand that Greenland is under NATO protection. A Russian or Chinese advance on Greenland would trigger an automatic military response by NATO. Still, Trump has repeatedly ridiculed Denmark's efforts to protect Greenland.
We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security, and Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you. You know what Denmark did recently to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true. They thought that was a great move.
Like nearly everything Donald Trump says, that's not what Denmark added. They deployed more soldiers, including a unit that gets around part of the icy Arctic tundra with the help of canines. Anyway, on Capitol Hill, lawmakers in both parties have been horrified by Donald Trump's rhetoric. Republican House member Don Bacon of Nebraska says that if Trump goes through with the Greenland invasion threats, that would be the end of Trump's presidency, and that Republicans would join Democrats in impeaching Trump. A Republican senator who wishes to remain anonymous has told reporters he has no understanding how the Trump ambitions about Greenland are an idea to begin with. Of course, the key words are no understanding. That's how Trump has many ideas to begin with. A half dozen congressional Democrats, along with Republican Senators Tom Tillis and Lisa Murkowski, are flying to Denmark to assure the Danish government that the Republican-controlled U.S. Senate will block any future U.S. military action against Greenland. Murkowski and other Republicans and Democrats are now moving related legislation through the U.S. Senate.
This is legislation that effectively acknowledges and underscores the role that we play as a NATO nation, working with our NATO allies, that we do not move against a NATO ally, and that no funds shall be expended to do so. So this is a message that I think is very clear and very strong, and quite honestly, one that I never thought I would have to author and introduce into the United States Congress.
But under Donald Trump, these are strange times. And it has even created the bizarre images we just saw, the foreign ministers of Denmark and Greenland having a tense meeting with Trump administration officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Trump was not even in the room, but still, the atmosphere was adversarial and strange. Here's part of the reporting from CBS News.
In the meeting, the Danes reiterated that the Arctic territory is not for sale, though they welcome a U.S. presence there. At one point, the U.S. had 10,000 troops stationed in Greenland, but the numbers have dwindled to 200.
We want to work with our American friends and allies, but it must be respectful cooperation, and it must respect the red lines.
And must respect the red lines, as in Greenland belongs to Denmark, not the United States. Still, Donald Trump continues to insist that his administration is going to do something on Greenland, whether they like it or not. So the tensions keep escalating. In the meantime, new polling that Trump doesn't care about has emerged, showing overwhelming U.S. opposition to Trump's Greenland ambitions. According to the Reuters Ipsos survey, only 17% of Americans would support a U.S. takeover of Greenland, and only 4% would support a military takeover of Greenland. In other words, taking Greenland by force. Still, Donald Trump shows no signs of being dissuaded either by polling or by common sense. So, European troops are heading to Greenland to help the island, if necessary, defend against America. Remarkable. Did you know that the big wireless carriers like Verizon and AT&T made over $18 billion in profit last year? How? By overcharging you for unlimited data, most of which you probably aren't even using. But what if you could get paid to use your phone less and only pay for the data you do use? Well, with Noble Mobile, you can. For just $50 a month on their No Bull plan, you get unlimited data, and whatever data you don't use, you get cash back right in your pocket. People who switch to Noble can save an average of $500 to $1,000 a year. It's a no-brainer. And by switching to Noble, you're directly supporting TYT and our mission of bringing you honest, independent news. So give Noble a try and make the switch today. Scan the QR code on the screen now or visit go.tyt.com/plan. That's go.tyt.com/plan. By the way, Donald Trump's attacks on the chairman of the Federal Reserve have now backfired in a big way.
Fox News alert, as we just discussed, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell says the Department of Justice served the Fed with a grand jury subpoena related to his testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. The New York Times is reporting that a criminal investigation has been opened into the chairman over those renovations at the Fed headquarters.
Powell himself then released this video going on the offense against the Trump administration's investigation.
I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us. Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Thanks for watching. If you found this reporting and commentary valuable, do us a favor and tap the like button. For more content like this, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. That way, you'll be notified on your YouTube homepage when we drop a new video. If you are tired of corporate spin and want honest, people-focused news, click the join button below and be part of the fight for a better future. We wouldn't be here without your support. Stay informed, stay engaged, and thanks again for joining us.